Yo, yo, welcome back to Puzzle Minds podcast. Today we have a special guest, a guy I've wanted to get on the podcast for the longest time. His name is Jonathan Belle. This guy is a synthwave master, a visionary, and pretty much anything creative this guy has, figured out. So you guys give a welcome to Jonathan Belle.
Well, thanks for having me on the show.
Hey man, yeah, dude, this is awesome to finally pick that brain of yours, man. I've been following you for a very long time on, various social media websites, and I just always wondered, like, how the hell does this guy essentially, like, there's one thing being creative, but like giving up your time the way that you do, man, it's just incredible. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I consider myself a pretty creative person, but I do not have any sort of mastery over how to divvy up my time. I'm either sleeping or not sleeping, trying to do stuff, and you seem to have it all figured out. So you want to kind of, I guess, we'll start there. Teach the
uh,
masses how to do this.
well, okay, so I've basically been, and thanks a lot. It's really great to talk about how all this stuff kind of affects and flows and everything, because it's really hard to have one-on-one conversations with people. So I appreciate the conversation. Just want to say that first.
Yeah, no
As
worries.
far as like learning about time and everything, that's honestly something I'm still working on because I kind of have one of those people that have like 20 different things going on at once, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until maybe 6 months ago where I was really trying to maybe not have, I mean, I'm still going to have 20 things going on at a time, but now it's like giving myself permission to do one thing at a time. Because my
Mm,
whole thing was like, I guess you could say FOMO for social media.
of
So,
course.
for instance, like, and this pretty much all started once I started trying to take YouTube more seriously. Because with YouTube, you got to record a video and then you got to edit the video and then you got to upload it, make sure you have a good thumbnail. Like each video takes a certain amount of time, right?
Hmm.
And just like anything, if you want to put time into stuff, the more you get out of it. So I'm like, if I'm off now and I make one YouTube video or two, and do that consistently, we'll see where it goes. Well, here's how my problem is before. I would like record one, then I
Hmm.
would, turn the camera off, then get on TikTok, then get on Instagram, then get on YouTube, then get on Facebook, do all the stuff in between,
Okay.
then go back to my, then go open up Premiere Pro and start editing. While I'm editing, I'll go through Instagram or you know what I mean? So I'm like,
Yeah.
I was always trying to do multiple things at once because I thought that I could get a lot more done that way. But it turns
Yeah.
out it wasn't true. And that was like an eye opener for me because now I seem to get a lot more done when I do one thing at a time.
I was just about to
And
ask you that. Like, it seems I was wondering if there a dip in quality when you're focusing on like 10 different things back to back to back versus being like, okay, I'm going to devote all my brain power into just, editing today or just TikTok today or just YouTube.
yeah, but I mean, like not even in a day to day thing.
Hmm.
And that's something that I literally had to learn how to do because I always thought like if I always need to be posting something, I always need to be making a tweet, I
Yeah.
always need to be doing something like that. And I had to realize like if I'm trying to put 1% into like 20 different things instead of 100% into one thing, then a lot more stuff is going to get done a lot slower than the one thing that I would want to get done. For
Hmm.
instance, like going to the gym.
Yeah.
I like to go to the gym and work out. And when I'm there, I could either be there for half an hour and do the same routine, or if I'm checking my phone in between reps, it's going to take me a lot longer. Now, a lot longer at the gym means the whole rest of my day has less time. So that's that. And I use this example because this is literally something that I had to start doing is like not being on my phone at the gym, even though it like hurts a little bit unless I'm like,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
riding the bike. But
Yeah.
like in between reps, I'm not going to pick up my phone because we all know how that goes. You pick up your phone to scroll Instagram and then it turns into like 3 or 5 minutes. And imagine like
Exactly.
5 minutes in between every single rep you
Every
do at the
single,
gym.
yeah, dude, I am a big violator of that. Where I'll sit there. I've got it. I'm not as bad now as I used to be before, but I've gotten it down to in between workouts during my like 2 minute separation between like the next workout. I'll look at something, but I know what you're saying. Sometimes you just blink and all of a sudden, like, dude, it's been like 10 minutes. Now I'm
Yeah.
gonna
So
have to do a
imagine
stand
like,
phone.
so that's one of the biggest things. And I just have to apply that everywhere. It's like I could either, and that's the thing, like with the time management. If I don't, if I'm not on my phone looking at everything, I could be in the gym for like half an hour or an hour and like feel great. If I'm
Mhm.
always doing something, then I could still set a time limit for the hour. I might not accomplish all the workouts I want, and then my time gets split half and half. So basically, to answer your question, is learning how to do one thing at a time per task and
Mhm.
not beating myself up about it.
Okay.
It's kind of like that Bruce Lee quote. He fears a man that does that kick 1,000 times versus the
Oh
man
yeah.
that does one
The
kick
same.
or one.
Yeah, practice it. Yeah, one kick like 1,000 times. Yeah, it's like he doesn't fear the man that knows 1,000 kicks. Fears the man that's practiced one kick 1,000 times.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I saw a lot of your work, and it's amazing. I'm not saying that just because you're on here, but I'm really impressed by it because you're very, very active on TikTok, on YouTube. Like on YouTube, I want to say you post every day, as well as TikTok. You post every day, and I can't even imagine to begin how much time and effort that you put into that. And the fact that you do it every single day is amazing because for me at least, whenever I'm posting something, I literally just post it and leave it. I don't add any touches to it or anything like that. And for instance, like you had a on your TikTok, you have like you show people how to like make that uh Doctor Strange ring,
Uh-huh.
stuff like that, and um like any type of creative thing. Like I think there was another one with you and the zipper and like kind of like unraveling your face or something like that. Just
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like I think is really, really interesting, and I'm amazed at how you can do stuff like that.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
But
Yeah, man. Yeah.
no, yeah, and like speaking of like TikTok, there was a video of you as I guess like I think you were on a train, and there was like a video of you in like the red forest.
Uh-huh.
That like is very I don't know. To me it took my breath away just because of how scenic it was. And so I was wondering like if you have any other like of all the places that you've been as a conductor, like where did you feel like the most creative out of them?
Uh, well, that place was in Kentucky, and that was like in the fall in Kentucky. So that was really, really beautiful for
Yeah,
one.
it was.
Um, but I guess that has really been one of the only scenic places as a conductor I've been. Well, I was in Alabama as a little too, but when I lived in Texas and was a conductor over there, it was really flat and boring. So
Mm.
I would go between Texas and Oklahoma, which was nothing to look at.
So you could kind of
But
see as far as the eye goes essentially.
yeah, pretty much. So it was a lot of when I did that, it was just a lot of testing out. Like I once put I would just put cameras everywhere when I would try to do stuff and go on from there. But yeah, basically I think Kentucky was one of the most scenic places I've been.
Mm. And then do you think that like being like in Kentucky with all like the scenic and stuff like that, was that kind of like the like where you felt like the most creative, I guess, in terms of like filming anything or like shooting any photography stuff or anything like that?
Yeah, does it galvanize any sort of creativity? Because I noticed you have a lot of like kind of like what we were talking about off air. To John's point, a lot of like time at work where you're just traveling great distances. Does any of that traveling kind of inspire you for your work with like whether it's Seattle Superman or your photography or creating the Doctor Strange portals? Any of that like translate to
Yeah,
say inspiration?
yeah, totally. I zone out a lot sometimes at work. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, when it's not like busy, but when I am, and that's what I think that's one of the reasons why I love car rides and being in a car a lot too, is because I get to be in my mind and think about stuff, and I'll write a bunch of stuff down, and yeah, a lot of ideas I would get at work, and then once I get out of work, I'll try to figure out like how to make it happen. But I think that's
That's pretty
mainly
cool. Yeah.
because that doesn't really have anything to do with where I'm at. It's the fact that I just don't have anything going on either, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm bored at work and then I'm just thinking about other stuff to execute.
So yes, I like the fact that like it even seems like when you're zoning out, your brain is still using its time wisely, bro. I mean, I don't know that I don't know if you're a big anime guy, but there's a show called My Hero Academia, and all these people have these powers called quirks, and I think that's your quirk, where you can always use your time wisely. Unlike some of us, where I'll zone out, and I'm literally zoned out, like there's nothing going on in my head. It's just like system error, like
It's like
Yeah,
scrolling through
but see,
TikTok.
that's a yeah, and I do watch that show. That's a great show. But
yeah,
see, but that's the thing. Here's the thing with that is like, I think that's just pressure from all of our peers on social media to feel bad about it. And the thing
mm,
is, like, every creative person has their ups and downs and stuff. I just don't advertise all that stuff. Like, there's a lot of
okay,
stuff. There's a lot of stuff I
yeah,
do advertise, and there's a lot of stuff I don't advertise. Like,
mm,
for instance, I'm not one of those people that'll say I'm taking a social media break,
you
but
just do it.
I'll just disappear and then come back, and I won't say like I'm back. I'll just do it. So like stuff like that. Nobody knows, or nobody would know that I'm leaving, or like there are some days
Yeah,
where I'll post like 30 stories on my Instagram, and then there's some
mm,
days where I'll go like 2 or 3 days and I won't post anything on Instagram.
mm,
And I think the main thing is like be comfortable enough with yourself and not feel peer pressure. Like during the pandemic, for example, this is like a really great example where a lot of creative people were feeling pressure to do stuff because they couldn't do anything really, or like go out and do stuff. And then like, well, I have all this free time. I should be creating stuff. I should be working on stuff. And
yeah,
then like you see a lot of people get depressed or in slumps because they're not putting out as much stuff as their peers were doing. And like I literally, there was probably like a month that I didn't do anything, or no, maybe not a month, maybe like a week and a half, where I literally was like,
I think I went for a month,
I'm
a week and a half. It's like, oh, yeah, actually, no, it's a week and a half.
yeah. I mean, like I don't really know how long.
Yeah,
Who knows what time is anymore, honestly. But like like I
exactly.
would just play Call of Duty from the morning till night and veg out for X amount of time.
Mm,
And the thing is, it's like creative people or just people in general need their brains to like recuperate from stuff, because people don't realize like even if you're not writing, even if you're not taking photos, even if you're not like being creative, you're still thinking about stuff all the time, and you don't realize how tired you can get from using your brain to try to think of stuff, to try to like just coming up with concepts in itself is exhausting sometimes,
exactly.
and
And
so
to your point, it's like when you try to think of something, that's when the ideas tend to not come, right? But when you're just letting your mind just do its thing, then things pop in, and then it seems like you act on it when they pop in. You're not like saying, okay, how am I going to be creative today? How am I going to edit today? You just kind of seem to have let your mind run its natural course, and then when something pops in your head, you're like, okay, I'm going to go and execute this.
yeah. Well, the thing is, like, yeah, that's true. But see, people think they're being judged way more than they really are. And that's why you have so many people like, I'm going to take a break, because they're scared that, like, if they leave and not tell anybody and they come back, they're not going to get received enough or stuff
Mm,
like that. You know what I mean? So it's just
yeah,
like we all set our own limitations on, like, it's me with my time. Like, oh, I need to be able to be on all these apps at once. And then for other people, it's, well, I need to announce everything I'm doing or else people won't care what I'm doing. And like, that's the thing. And that's something that I don't do, which is why it makes it seem like I'm always doing stuff. But like, you don't, you don't know. You don't look at my story every 5 seconds to see what I am. Like, you don't know every single time I posted something either, or like
mm,
how often I'm posting something. And so that's the thing. It's like, realizing that you're only putting these limitations on yourself and making yourself anxious and worried about something that really is only like a day or an hour or a month out of the rest of your life.
that's a very interesting take, man. And I like the way that you essentially you're right, like because we put these pressures on ourselves. As much as people like to always describe social media as evil, social media has no moral allegiance at all, technically, right? It's
Right.
just how you decide to use it. And I think it's like you kind of have a very good understand. You have actually a very good understanding of it, where like you just said, when you disappear, you're not announcing it. Because I see some people online, like when they disappear for like a week, like, hey guys, I'm drained, I'm gonna be gone from this date to that date, as if anyone cares. To be honest, it's like, who fucking cares to begin with, And then secondly, it's like it's putting a pressure, because now you essentially told your quote unquote audience that you have a return date. So if you don't return, those people are probably going to feel like, oh man,
Expectations.
Yeah, like they're basically putting these expectations on themselves, and I guess that's something that seems to be a downfall of a lot of creators you see in the industry. I guess whatever you're doing in particular. I think this applies to a lot of things. Like for you, for example, I know how I got you got on my radar was your work with a Seattle Superman. I
Right.
always thought that stuff was so cool because, it seems like you kind of like Trojan horse the cosplay community, right? Came in there like, hey, I'm a cosplayer, psych, and then, kind of did your own thing. And I always love the fact that I remember one time you and I had a conversation, and I think I described you as a cosplayer, and you're like, yo, I'm not a cosplayer. I was like, yo, I actually like the fact that like you separated yourself because one, it's just like just because you use something as an avenue to come into doesn't mean that you're gonna be thoroughly defined by that particular thing. And I think that's really what makes you unique because you have all these things that you're very interested in, and you seem to have found a way to connect them. Whether it's, we'll get into a little bit later, your digital editing and your cyberpunk influences and all that stuff you do. All of it seems connected and not just random hobbies that Jonathan Bell does. Because some people are like that. Some people are like, yeah, by the way, I like swords. I also eat pizza. I also like to run. It's like all these random things that just have no connection. But it all seems like just part of your journey. And it's awesome to see how you started with the Seattle Superman. And I can see how like your edits would get better and better. And then I saw how you also put a lot of emphasis on the location. And then you started putting the messages. 'Cause I remember for a while, you did like, you have these photos and then you have like a very interesting word and a definition behind of
Right.
the I was like, dude, that is so damn cool. Something so simple. It's like you just open a dictionary, took a cool ass word, put it on there, but the word matched the photo and the theme, and everything was just so synergetic and incredible. And I liked how that moved on to something else, but it didn't feel like you're abandoning, which is what people tend to do. Like, all right, that was me last year. That was 2019 me. So, or 2020 me. Now I'm done with that. Your stuff is all just culminating and getting bigger and bigger, but it's all just adding onto itself. And that's quite a hard. I don't know if you understand how incredibly difficult that is. Maybe it's easy to you, but I love the fact that like it's very difficult to do because you're essentially building, a legacy, like actively.
No. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it's well, so before the Superman stuff, I appreciate those kind of words. Like I'm trying not to stop grinning for these nice things you're saying about me and talk,
Oh, no worries, man.
We
but
can keep going.
Yeah, we
but I
go.
appreciate it. But honestly, that has been my plan all along. And you know how, like with your stuff, how you're so good at something. You know what I mean? And like,
Mm,
and you're like, it's only going to be a matter of a time before everybody could see like my skills. And so, like when I first started, um, I did a lot of like concept creative photography. That was how I started. I had a lot of ideas, and a lot of the models that I uh, would try to meet up with, if they flaked, it would just be like, that's it. And then eventually I stopped trying to work with models,
mm,
because I don't have the tolerance for that. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do all this stuff on myself. So in Fort Worth, when I finally started having some free time from my job, I got a camera and I started doing a lot of like designs and concepts on myself and friends, and then I slowly started building up a community in Fort Worth, Texas. Well, then I almost got in an accident, and I'm like, you know what? I should try to do this full time with the Superman stuff. So then I left, and like I didn't tell anybody really that plan. So then imagine like I'm doing all. So then I go from like all these creative stuff to living in a van. Well, what was I going to do in a van in Seattle was like explore Seattle. And then I started taking a bunch of nature stuff around the Pacific Northwest. And then when I got my Superman suit out of the blue, I like post a picture of myself in, Superman cosplay. And I was like,
mm,
so like, what the heck is this? Cause I didn't really announce that I was doing that.
yeah.
Um, and so where was I going with this? The point is like, the Superman aspect was always going to be the platform because I knew if I did that right and like got into that scene, and it wasn't just a Superman, it was like, I knew that if I did that, it was the locations and the photography skills would have went with the Superman, right?
Yeah,
It
they
would
all
then it would
complemented
have been
very well.
the cosplay, it would have been the the editing that I was gonna do, the levitation photo. So all the whole Superman in general is and has been and always will be the platform for me. The Superman was a platform for me to start off with. And now 4 years later, like I think I just posted on my I posted a reel the other day of like that zipper one that you saw on TikTok.
Yeah.
I re-put that on Instagram and like a whole bunch of other stuff. And these people are like, wow, you're so creative and this is so cool. And they don't realize like that those videos, original videos, are from like 2015, 2016.
Oh wow.
And they're just like all this, pretty much all the edits that if you go on my TikTok or Instagram right now and you see all this creative stuff, those are all old. Those are all from before I even started doing the Superman stuff. But I was a quote unquote, nobody really gave a crap or knew who I was back then. So it was like, it never got far. But now that I have like a platform that I'm putting all this stuff over again, it was like, oh, wow, that's so cool. And because now more people could see it. And that was like the whole purpose of the Superman thing in the beginning, was to try to make a platform for all of my creativity.
Yeah, and I think the platform that you have right now you have something like I guess called hashtag creativity fuel, and
Yep.
I think that's a really really noble thing to have, because you want to inspire others, and you had mentioned in other interviews that when you first started out, you try to reach out to people and like get tips from other people, and either they would leave you on red, or I think the other one was like they would say, hey, no, I don't want you to copy it, because then you'd be copying me. But the fact that
Right.
you tell people how to do these things, like for instance, like that Dr. Stone ring that I was talking about earlier, you tell people, you literally give them the tools on how to do it. And I'm always under the impression that it's kind of like, if you inspire someone, they might inspire someone else, which then inspires something to be something great. If you withhold information in the sense of creativity, then you might limit someone's creativity who might be able to produce something that's maybe beneficial for the world or beneficial for society, like whatever it is. And the fact that you share your tools and stuff like that, I think it's really, really awesome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's because you never know, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
Yeah, it's that type of attitude just gets on my flipping nerves so much.
Yeah.
And people,
Everyone tries to hoard creativity and knowledge, and
it's kind of like it's kind of like when you it's kind of like when you it's kind of like that whole dilemma, like what if the next genius is someone that doesn't have access to education? I don't know if it's kind of like that, but it's just like if you give someone the resources to do something, then they might be able to produce a product or a service or whatever it is.
Like creative genius is someone that you just have to inspire by simply having a conversation with them. But if you decide to be like some of these assholes, they're like, oh no, I don't want you copying me, therefore they withhold. It's not like you're directly responsible for stopping the next Michelangelo or Da Vinci from being birthed, but it's one of those things where you never know the repercussions of your actions, like to John's point. And the fact that you share is very unique, because I mean, I see a lot of people out there, like whether they're cosplayers or artists or sculptors. I always go on their pages and see, do they have any sort of tutorials, and whether it's like for example, one of my favorite artists is a DC artist named Dexter Soy, and he has such a unique drawing style. It's like a combination of almost like Japanese influenced manga and like Western, traditional Western styles when it comes to comic books. And the thing I like about him is that sometimes he goes live on Instagram and will actually show him drawing a panel for like a comic book, versus some of these other people that kind of almost want to protect their style so no one copies it, so they can, I don't know, whether make more money or stand out more. But to give away creativity and knowledge, man, it's awesome. And the fact that you're part of that, dude, even makes you even more awesome, man. So it's good to see that the world still has some people, like some generous creative people, because you can be creative and still be an asshole.
Yeah, that is for sure true.
Can we say Quentin Tarantino? Is he an asshole? But he's very creative.
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino, I think, falls into that. Him, Scorsese, all those guys are like, iconic, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to give away their secrets to making all these millions of dollars, right?
Is Stanley Kubrick, is that like that too? I've never seen a movie, but I've always heard he's very creative. But I've heard bad stuff about him. I don't know if that's just through the wind, personal bias. I don't know what it is, but is that like a general consensus?
I don't know, to be honest. I really do
Yeah, I
not
don't know
know.
either.
Hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, man. So I noticed also as well too. So on top of the Seattle Superman stuff that you do, you also are big into the I guess you could say I guess synthwave community. Is that I guess the proper way to
Synth pop,
describe it? Or like
Yeah,
right?
the
like
Synthwave.
cyberpunk, synthwave type
yes,
things of that
cyberpunk.
nature. Yeah.
Yeah, cyberpunk. Yeah, because I know the cyberpunk community because that's like guilty pleasure of mine. Like I love all things cyberpunk, whether it's Altered Carbon, Blade Runner, or all these things that have this very low life, high tech aesthetic. Like I always thought it's a very cool community, but I've never really seen someone that's like immersed in it. I've always seen like art. I only know it from an artistic standpoint, like just seeing cool concept art or seeing it throughout us, cinematography and stuff like that. But you were, I guess, immersed in the music side of things. So I guess you can talk about that and kind of one of your many jobs and skill sets. Explain that as well.
Uh, yeah, so I'm like, so that pretty much came about like the whole YouTube thing. I wanted to try to figure out how to start like monetizing with my time and making money. So I was like, you know what? And also like to be honest, this is like a test for me and practice. This whole synthwave, and so
Hmm.
there's like a band that I really love, and they're called The Midnight, and they came out with a new album last summer, and I recorded myself listening to the entire album and then uploaded it, and then it got like really good traction on YouTube, and I'm like, you know what, uh, synthwave is still like a growing community, even though there are like a ton of artists, and I wonder if I'll just do reaction videos to that, because at the same time I was thinking like I have all this retro stuff for like video editing, and I want to know if I could incorporate skills on YouTube to practice doing things and like make reactions, because I like looking at stuff and making reaction videos. I just had a hard time picking what I was going to do first, because it's either a lot of people doing a lot of different things or just stuff I just flat out don't care about. But I
Hmm.
do care about synthwave music and like listening to new songs, and I love music. So then the other obstacle that I had was, well, now I got to like figure out how to record it. And it gradually just started with me just, recording everywhere. And now I just do it in my van when I'm driving around, only because that's like the only option I have right now. But the only reason why I started doing that is because I wanted to know, well, besides the monetization, why I picked reaction videos is like, I wanted to know if how much I devote my time to do this, if I could actually make it work, so I could start making a name for myself on YouTube to then like filter out everywhere else. And honestly, like I started in October, and I now have 150 videos up of different reaction songs. And I would try to do like at least one a day, or sometimes I would do two or three or four, depending on how much time I had. And it's grown pretty like, and now I'm like starting to see myself pop up in different like synthwave communities online. And just the other day, because I still have my handle as Superman everywhere, pretty much on all
Hmm.
social media. And just the other day, somebody shared one of my reaction videos and said the Synthwave Superman. And I was
Oh
like,
shit,
wow. Yeah.
that's
So
Oh,
like,
sick.
that's a cool one, dude. Oh, that's a cool
yeah.
one. Might
So
have to
like,
update your title, bro. That's all. That is a
Yeah,
badass
that
one.
might be the new one.
yeah.
Synthwave
So that,
Superman, dude. That is tough.
and that is, so I read that. I was like, oh crap, my plan is working. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
how, like, oh, it's my plan. So, but that, I didn't tell like people on on YouTube, they know that I like Superman because my profile picture and my header is a picture of me in Superman cosplay.
Yeah, of course.
But I love retro, I love like cyberpunk stuff. So all like, and I love thrifting. So all pretty much all of my videos are me in like retro clothes with like retro filters and like a nostalgic type vibe, because I like dressing like that too. And I don't make videos in cosplay at all, really. I think I only made like two, and they like fit the mood of one of the songs. So the whole synthwave community that I'm trying to build there, like trying to get into that community, um, they really don't know about my cosplay side. So
Mm.
it's the point of me like eventually merging all these different things, or even if they don't even merge, it's the fact that I can still have different things going on that I like. And I think that's like what a lot of people get hung up with is like, well, I can't try to do anything different because then they're not going to like me anymore. And
Yeah,
people don't
exactly.
realize like there are so many more millions of people in the world than like the X amount of people that follow you. You know,
Yeah.
even if like you have 10,000 people following you or five, you know how people talk like, oh, I don't want to hurt my followers because they have like 5 followers, or if they have 100,000 followers, but they don't realize like they have the whole world that could potentially be uh,
An
followers for them
audience.
too. You know what I mean? So like that's one of the things that I've really never batted an eye about because of how I've done. Like I, go from different things here and there, and my whole thing is like if you guys like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But my whole job is to put myself out there, and whoever
Mm.
likes it will find it.
Yeah. So the community you're trying to build is the people that like it, they like it. They don't, they don't. You're not going to change yourself to accommodate the masses, which is something that yet again, I think is also very unique because a lot of people I see the second people hit them with an ounce of criticism, they're like, oh, what do you want? Okay, cool. I'm going to do that now. You
Yeah,
know?
but see, and my biggest determining factor was like before I even got started in the cosplay scene and like all this stuff, like if you look at all these like influencers and stuff, right? Like there's always one post about, man, I feels like I can't do anything else because then nobody's gonna like what I do. Like every single influencer or YouTuber or vlogger that is known for one thing, they always have at least one video or one statement to where they feel like they can't do anything else because they're already in that niche, right? And
Mhm.
so my whole thing was like, even if it takes me longer to get to where I'm going, I don't ever want to, like, I already know myself enough. Like, I can't keep a perfect grid to save my life. I can't like do one thing for the life of me because that's just not how I am. And so I
Exactly.
was like, if all of these famous people wish that they could do more than one thing, or why would I want to start off like that to only end up the other way? And so like that was like one of my huge determining factors of just doing whatever I wanted, even though it could take a little bit longer, which who's to know anyway? Like I could be one day away from something happening. You just don't
Yeah.
know.
And
So
the fact that you're
that's one
staying
of the
true
main
to it.
reasons why I decided to just do a whole bunch of different stuff because you see all these people all the time. Like I can't do anything else, and then they feel trapped, and then they don't put as much work in, and then they give up or quit, or they get depressed because then they feel like they're stuck. And I don't ever want to feel like I'm stuck trying to please other people with what I'm doing when I have so many different ideas of stuff.
Yeah, I think there's like a fine balance between, everyone wants to be loved by everyone, but also everyone fears of being judged by everyone.
Right.
And having the ability to know that you're doing this for yourself, and whoever does it, or whoever fucks with it. It kind of takes a pressure off your shoulder. You're just like, whoever likes it, come join me for the ride to the top, or whatever it is. But I think a lot of people, like you said before, get boxed into a certain niche. And I think being able to just either pivot from where you are, whether it's something that you like, it'll attract the people that like it. And I think
Right.
that just like there's a thing called blue ocean, where essentially it's like uncharted territory. And I think what you're doing with like the whole synthwave and chill reaction videos, I think that's a blue wave. 'Cause I don't know, like I'm not very versed in the synthwave community, but I assume that's like a very very small niche that you're tapping into. And then the fact that you're in there like in the beginning, I think it's going to pay dividends in the sense of, you're one of the first ones, you're getting reactions to it, and then eventually, like you said before, maybe one day you might be one day away from becoming the biggest synthwave advocate. I
Yeah.
guess I don't know what the word is.
Well, like the face of it, like you could be like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
face of something. And the
Yeah. And
fact
that's
like
like, yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. I don't know what's going to happen.
And I mean, but you're guaranteeing that you're what because I think the good thing about what you're doing is that you're not too focused on how long the journey takes. You're just focused more on the destination. You want to get there no matter what, but you don't want to compromise yourself on the journey. And that's what a lot of these people do, where along the journey, they like say that, so let's say for example, they want to be a famous cosplayer, even though no fucking thing exists. Everyone thinks they can become, everyone thinks cosplay is going to translate to being an actor for some reason, for whatever reason. But along the way, they may start off being like, hey, I like doing these specific kind of characters. But the fact that maybe those characters aren't getting much love on their Instagram or social media accounts, they start looking at, okay, well, what do people want to see? And then the second you do it once, the second you let that, I guess you can say like that little compromise in, it's very infectious to how you go, that's how you think going forward. And you see a lot of these people that actually start off, very cool ideas, and then they eventually just start getting tossed around left and right because they're trying to keep up with everyone's expectations. And one thing is, I think we all know is that like, if you let the crowd determine what you do, you can't please everyone. So you're better off telling people to fuck off and sticking to what you're doing. And at least you get there when you get there versus being like, hey, I'm going to do whatever people want to do. And very few people succeed that way. And even if they do succeed, they're probably not happy with the destination they end up at. And for you to be like, hey, I don't care. I'm going to get there where I want, when I want. I'm not too focused on how long it takes. It can take, a month. It can take 20 years, but I'm more focused on just getting there. And that part, I think, almost guarantees you success versus other people.
No, yeah, I totally agree, and thank you. And then the main thing is like it's like because somebody asked me this the other day, and like, how do you stay so optimistic and positive and stuff? And like, and my point is, and I think what I told her was like, because I've done a lot of stuff, and that car accident that I almost got in that like put me on this path, it really was eye opening to me. Like I was on a freeway, I almost did a 180, and like at 6 p.m. driving down Texas, a freeway, and I could have almost died or been like, extremely hurt, and then I can't do anything. But after that, it's like, I think, or just like anybody in life, like, you have friends or people that have like gone through a lot of stuff in their life, and then like their outlook with stuff is like, it's a little bit more jaded, and they're a little bit more loose with stuff. Like take for example, like all the people right now that are like so surprised that Robinhood is like restricting people from buying stock. And like us, we're like, oh, a company's oppressing you somehow? Wow, that sucks. You know what I mean?
Ooh,
like,
plot twist. Yeah.
So like we're all reading these people like they're so shocked and surprised that somebody's stifling them from getting ahead. And meanwhile, we're like, yeah, okay, welcome to the club. It's a big deal. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's stuff like that. And so that's, so my point is like people don't realize that like nothing matters as much as they think in their heads does. And what you were saying about like if nobody likes what I'm doing, then I'm going to try something else. And to illustrate my point, like their nobody is they're like 2,000 to 100,000 followers is what they say. Or like, what I mean with the algorithm, they post something and nobody likes it. And they think that like out of the millions of people on Instagram, and this got shown to 50 flipping people that nobody likes what they're doing. You know what I mean? So it's like taking that big sense of, and to me, it's like, if it doesn't get enough traction now, it'll get enough traction later. And that's exactly why I posted that zipper thing again. And there's honestly, like, I have posted the same stuff on my Instagram more times than not. Like, and a lot of times it's just to test stuff out. There's some videos that I post like on my reel, and then I won't post it till I posted the same thing literally 3 times the other day, just to see like how, not all in one day, but I spaced it out just to see like the reach and stuff. Cause nowadays people are just complaining about the algorithm and stuff all the time. And so I posted one thing to my main feed. And then when Reels came out, I posted it to Reels, but I didn't have the thumbnail on the main feed. And then now I just posted it to Reels with the thumbnail on my main feed. And it's the exact same video, but the analytics are completely different because it shows stuff to people differently, and the different time, different day, more time has passed, more not. And now Instagram is like trying to push Reels to compete with TikTok. So like And this is what I've trying to been telling everybody, that nobody wants to listen to me because they don't think it's aesthetic for their feed. I'm like, you need to put your reels on your actual Instagram thing, and but it doesn't crop it right, and it's not. I'm like, if people want to look at it, they'll click it open and look at it, but it's gonna restrict you not showing it if you don't do it that way, because Instagram is trying to push reels to compete with TikTok. And that's why, like, I just went on this whole tangent. But what I'm saying is, like, people don't. I think that's why I am in the position where I'm at, because I know that, like, trial and error and taking the time, I have the time to do this, because I'm not trying to, I guess, take a shortcut with stuff. If that makes sense.
You're not afraid to be in the trenches, because, like you said, like, people are worried about, like, you gave them the literal answer to how to beat the algorithm right now. Put your reels on your page. But people are like, well, my page is not going to look nice. It's like, all right, who cares about how your page looks, right? Like, if I can guarantee you success, like doing this, you're still going to say no. That's them fighting advice, and you can't help someone that does that.
And their pages for themselves, because if you think about it this way, like, if everybody complains about the algorithm, and if they say that, like, if you tell me you complain about your algorithm, and you're like, if I post something, not even like 10% of my followers are going to see it. So by that logic, if you make a grid which is like 9 squares, and that doesn't even equal up to 100% of your followers seeing a whole grid over the course of 9 pictures. You know what I mean? So basically, the grid is for yourself.
Yeah, for your own personal reasons.
Because nobody else like just goes and looks at everything aesthetically.
Exactly.
It's just you just want to do that yourself. I mean, I could understand, like, there's creative people that want stuff to look nice and this and that, but, like, the way that Instagram is going now, it's like they're really, and this is the only reason why I started posting reels more to my page and putting everything on my main thing. It's because ever since they announced reels, and now that I start having that creator thing where they're showing a lot of videos and, like, featuring creators that are making videos, it's like, okay, obviously Instagram wants people to start using videos more. So, and that's why, like, I started posting the same. I literally have been posting the same stuff that I've already had in reels, but I'm posting it to my main feed, and it gets like 50 times more views because Instagram pushes that out now. And that's just stuff like, I'm not afraid to do that, because the long term, like, who's going to care? But you see the people, like, make excuses for stuff because they don't want to either mess up their feed, or they still think nobody's going to like it, or this and that, and blah, 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 blah. But whatever the case is, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they're shooting themselves in the foot in the long run, because at the end of the day, they're focused on very trivial things that are actually impeding them probably achieving those goals they have. And but those will be the same people that will complain, like, it's all the algorithm's fault. Yeah, the algorithm is stacked against you, but you literally can find loopholes to actually use it to your advantage.
Right.
You should start an Instagram Reels workshop. I guarantee you'll sell out.
Yeah, I should.
and then watch Instagram change it. Be like, oh, they found out. Have you seen those memes where, like, how do you know this? And then all of a sudden they'll switch to stories or something wild.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just mainly the limitations we put on ourselves. That's like the main thing, and I don't have any, so that's literally like the only. Or if I do have them, I've just learned how to get rid of them, and that's basically the only thing. I'm like, why would I? Like, if you look at my page now, it just looks like a mess. But on the same time, all those messes are getting seen individually more and more than if I would have done it some differently.
And I think that's the part that a lot of people just need to get on. Like, when you're training for something, you can't always look pretty, right? It's like an athlete that's training for the Olympics. You see the end result when you see, like, back in the day, let's use Usain Bolt, for example. When you see him train, I'm sure that guy's doing all kinds of crazy things, like swimming, doing all kinds of wild workouts, running on the beach, all that stuff that is not very glamorous, the messy part, right? To get that pretty end result. And that's kind of like exactly what you're doing with. It's like, yeah, maybe your grid, quote unquote, aesthetically might be messed up, but like you said, you're getting more views per post than people that are trying to just make everything perfect from the get-go. And it's something that I think that a lot of people allow themselves to kind of go through that grind a little bit more. They will probably see themselves having more success, with most of their goals. So it's, I mean, like you have it kind of figured out, man. So my question to you is like, so I guess I know like we use this analogy of you being on a journey. I know obviously the journey is far from over, but do you have any sort of like end in sight, like an end goal? Like this is somewhere where you'd be like, if you stay stationary at this creative position, you wouldn't mind it, or is it the journey for you just endless? You're gonna just keep on going and gathering knowledge and gathering, new talents and things of that nature.
Eventually, I would like to make money doing this, so I don't have to have like a real job.
Okay.
But also at the same time, like I'm pretty content now with like how things are. I mean, I
Oh
don't want
man,
to
that's
work.
awesome.
I
Yeah.
don't really want to work, and I definitely like once I get to the railroads, when I get contracts, I'm even that gets annoying sometimes. But I know like in a grand scheme of things, like I'm able to do stuff that I like to do, go work for a little bit and then like be off for a little bit. And so
Mhm.
like but even so, like all of this stuff just comes with a understanding. Like I was before I got my last contract, I was literally 1 week away. I was off for like 6 months. I was literally 1 week away from going to the grocery store to apply for a job, to just get a job to see, just so I could start making money again. And then like literally my job called like, hey, we have a contract for you down in Alabama. And that's just me getting to a place of like, I want to be creative and I'm doing stuff when I'm
Mhm.
not working. And if I have to get a job doing who knows what, then so be it. And because that's not like something that embarrasses me, or like if I need to make money somehow, then I will figure out a way to make money.
Yeah, and that's how
Um,
it should be, man. Like, there's no such thing as embarrassment. If you're paying the bills of whatever you're doing, how can you be? It's more embarrassing to have an
Not pay
ego
for
and
it.
not have money than sit there and do whatever, and but still be moving forward towards goals and things of that nature.
yeah, so it will be nice to, be able to like get paid to post stuff or like get sponsorships to do stuff with people, and that's what I'm working towards now, is
Mm-hmm.
being able to somehow make a living by being creative.
Mhm.
And so that's why I started taking YouTube more seriously, is because if I start making a huge catalog now with this stuff, maybe 4 or 5 years down the road when I start monetizing stuff more, and also it's just like I'm doing this synthwave and chill stuff now. Who knows what it's going to turn into next week or tomorrow or something else. They could go full blown into me like just talking about retro stuff, and that way like everything will be monetized because I won't have anybody else's music in it. You know what I mean? So like
Exactly. Yeah, it'll be all
it's the
yours.
point of me still being on this journey, figuring stuff out, is what I love doing.
Speaking
That's
of speaking of journey, I think we'll just probably end with this. But you have pictures of you traveling in your van, and a lot of people will see it as like this perception of like living in a van is cool. You're a free mover, free spirit, whatever it is. But what are some of the things that that people don't realize, like living in a van, like it's I guess troublesome.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize like having to use the bathroom is a pain in the butt. It wasn't a pain in the butt a little bit ago before COVID, but now with gyms closed, and because beforehand when I first started in the van, I had a 24-hour fitness gym membership, and I would go there to shower, or if I was like traveling around, I would go use the bathroom there, or like in a PNW, there's state parks and bathrooms everywhere, and I would just pull over and go use the bathroom. But now uh, gyms have their bathrooms closed. A lot of state parks are closed. They have all the bathrooms closed, this, and that. So it's a little bit harder to do stuff that way. Another thing is like it gets lonely sometimes. I remember, yeah, especially like when I moved there, like I tried to get on Tinder in Seattle, and so many
mm,
people, like, oh, you're a free spirit. That's cool. This, and that. And I literally could see like the flame go out in one of these girls' eyes I was talking to when she asked me. Like, we were on a second date,
yeah.
and at first date was like, oh, this is cool, blah blah. And then
Mm,
I could tell that she liked me. And the second date, it was going really well. And she asked me, she's like, so when do you think you're gonna get an apartment out here? And I was like, I'm not. And you could just like, you know how you like look at people and you can see
Ooh,
like that
yeah.
fire go out in their face,
Yeah,
and
they're just
then
like,
like
oh.
and then the next day I get this nice text message like, oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to being friends with you and shit like that. So I was like,
Ah, of
okay,
course you
like
do.
that, yeah. But
Yeah. The tone changed immediately because you just the night before she was into you, now she's okay.
yeah, so
So
like
yeah.
people have that type of perception, like you're a bum, you know, like you don't really have your life together.
Mm.
Why are you living in a van or doing that type of stuff? So that's another thing. Like it could get a little lonely sometimes and a
Mhm.
little judgmental. And the third thing is like, you know, just your health too, because if you want to eat properly and do things, you got to time all that stuff out so you don't wake up in the middle of the night to try to have to use a, you know, go number two where you're going to go to Walmart, which now Walmarts aren't even open 24 hours anymore. So
Mm.
it's like a whole thing, like a whole routine that the whole time I was living in a van in Seattle for a year and a half or so, I don't think I ate after 9 o'clock unless I was like spending the night at somebody's house, because I knew that if I ate later, I would, you know, like I didn't want a
Yeah,
chance
yeah.
having to wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and then like, you know, having to figure out where to pee all the time. And if you like have X amount of jugs of urine in your van, like I literally, I don't think I've ever told anybody this, but like those Arrowhead jugs,
Yeah.
uh, like I literally at one point had 6 of them just full of pee in my van because I
Damn,
couldn't.
dude.
I like was still trying to drink water a lot, and everywhere I was going, there was just like so many people around. And I didn't want to like just throw the whole things away. I would just go like try to empty them. And at one
Toss
point,
it
I'm
out the
just like,
window, hit the
yeah. At one point, I'm looking at, it, I'm like, God, I need to get rid of these. But yeah, people don't realize like all that stuff. It just like it stacks up, and they don't. You know what I mean? It's all the things that you wouldn't think, having to take a shower, having to like, you know, go to laundromats to do your laundry, and you know, your appetite. Like I love eating steak and I love seafood, and those are two things that I avoided eating because they run through me like water. So like
Yeah,
I can't
of
eat that
course.
stuff.
Sheesh, man. Yeah, those are little small but major details because at the end of the day, it's like it's one of those things where like we take them for granted right now, but the second they're taken away, you're like, oh shit. I've never thought about the idea of like, yeah, what if I had to like absolutely take a shit and had nowhere to go? Like, what would I do? Like, shit my pants? Like, probably. Be honest with you, like, all right, fuck it, just me,
Or
you
use
know.
like a
But
Walmart bag or something.
yeah, or something. But like it's just the fact that like those little small things, and I appreciate you even like kind of go into detail because a lot of people glamorize the van life, and it is an awesome way to live. Don't get me wrong. It's that there are certain things that you have to be aware of, and I think most of the time when you see it on Pinterest or Tumblr or Instagram, you just see all the highlights like that $1 million looking van renovated, and then they're driving in the middle of like the Swedish Alps or something crazy, and but you're like you never think of when did those people take a shit. You never think about that. You never think about that. Now I am. I'm gonna be like, yeah, So
Yeah,
yeah, like
like in all those photos of the inside of the van, there's probably some jar somewhere not in sight, or
Oh
some
shit.
you know,
just
that's like,
loaded with feces.
because like who's gonna want to purposely show that? But I mean, like it's the reality of things is
Exactly.
that like, you don't know, like I don't have a microwave, so I literally ate canned ravioli half the time, or like Walmart, I either ate like fried chicken from Walmart or canned food from there all the time,
Mm.
and to save money. Or like the packets of tuna, when Walmart would have them for sale for $1, I literally would just go buy as much, like all of them all the
Mm.
flavors that I liked, and then I have like 50 or 60 bags of tuna in my car for whenever uh, I wanted to eat something.
Dude, I wonder what that smells like. It must smell like your van must have smelled like a rolling yeast infection. All that tuna just chilling in the back. On a hot day, this tuna chilling in a plastic bag is like, damn, bro. Somebody blasted that van up.
Well, thank you, Jonathan, for taking the time out. Like I said, we know that you're a busy person, but we appreciate you, spending time
Oh,
with
thanks
us.
for having me on the show. I appreciate this. Seriously.
Cool.
Dude, we'll definitely have you back, man. It was
Yeah.
like incredibly awesome conversation, and dude, like I said, man, keep on doing you, dude. I feel like you're inspiring a lot of people, and you probably don't even recognize the amount of impact what you're doing has, and your honesty with it as well, too.
But let
I am down to come back on all the time. Just let me
cool.
know.
Thank you, man. Yeah. Let the people know where they can find Synthwave's Superman.
Thank you. Well, if you type my name into Google, Jonathan Belle, JonathanBelle, you will find pictures of me and links everywhere. And I say this because I am so proud of my SEO that I've built up over the past 4 years.
Nice. Cool. And
Awesome.
yeah, we'll put all those links, your website, your TikTok and YouTube and all that. We'll push all that out so people can get into the synthwave groove. But again, thank you for coming on. If you like this podcast, smash that like button, that follow button wherever you listen to us. Follow us on our social media platforms, Puzzle Minds Podcast, and our our Twitter is Puzzle Minds Pod. Last but not least, thank you, Official Block of the Week, for the weekly cover art artwork. Other than that, everyone stay puzzled.
Peace.